And well, the next game was what the factor. And you can see some of the expressions that I had the student factor were pretty intense. But that's because I had some students who were not recognizing when an expression was in quadratic form. So I used this game to get them to say, well, wait a second, maybe the best way to factor that isn't to necessarily multiply x plus 1 times x plus 1. They need to think about what are they actually looking at. And so some of these games might seem a little bit more intense than others, but it's because I really want to challenge their mind, especially when they have 3 other people in their group that they can collaborate with and get the answer to this. This one has those little strips that are playing boards. I hope that I can make them a little bit larger now that I have the actual game boards coming. And then there's different playing cards here. But you can see that, you know, this student thought that what he was doing in this game, the problems in the game, were so important to him that he was actually putting that problem in his notebook. You know, so it wasn't just a game to him that he wanted to just write it down and then throw it away on the way out. He thought that there was actual value in the game. He wanted to keep the problem worked out for later. So what are the students saying? I understand factoring even more now. Wow, you know, the group effort. It was a group effort. So whenever I hear the students saying things like this, I know that I've succeeded, at least for that day, in getting them to work as a group. I might come back the next day and have to start all over again. They quickly forget from Wednesday to Monday what happened last week. You know, a better understanding. We work together. Reinforces the basics of factoring and helps you to get quicker. Really? I mean, isn't that what we want from all of our students, is for their factoring skills to be quick, and so that they can recognize sort of right away, can an expression be factored or not? So this is exactly what we want. And if games are the way to do it, then I'm all for that. Hey, one guy had a competitive nature. So it's actually helping him to pay attention to the negative signs. And this is a guy who really had a hard time with negative signs. And then 2 days after that we played this game, not another negative mistake from him the rest of the semester. It like cleared it right up. So I was very impressed by that. Very challenging. Well, of course I want it to be challenging. If the student said, hey, it was easy, then well, that's not what I want. I want them to think about the problems. I want them to go to the other side of the brain for once. The problems were what we needed. Really? What they needed? I mean, I'm not a mind reader. I told them if I were a psychic, I wouldn't be teaching math. I would be getting paid $600 an hour to read people's minds, right? But hey, if somehow I knew what was needed and it resonated with them, it helps you out. It helps you see your mistakes. Again, this is all coming from the students. I did not make this up at all. I mean, are you convinced at all, based on just the student feedback by itself, that having some type of activity in the classroom is a good thing? I mean, this is actually a slope game, and the first time that I played it with my students, it didn't look like this at all. And I found out that the students nicknamed it slopes and ladders. I didn't have a name for it, but the students thought it looked like chutes and ladders, so that's what they nicknamed it. But if you look at these, I think you have both sets of cards somewhere. Oh, actually, yes. If you have this set of cards that had just like the 2 points on the front, this card game is the same as this board game. But the thing is that this is a board game. So for some classes, a board game is more effective. But for other classes, you might think, well, they won't understand a board game. So I took those same problems, I put them on cards, and in some classes I play the same exact game, but we play it with cards. So you have to really figure out what would work best with your group of students. So this isn't really meant to be a game in a can. This is meant to give you an idea of some of the basic things that you can do to better engage your students. So what are the students saying about this? They like the process of the game. Isn't that what we're always wanting our students to do, is think of learning as a process, or the learning process? So if they're thinking in terms of a process now, wow, that's powerful stuff. This was the best game. It was cool to get into the game. Really, well, he was probably more excited about getting people to move back. Because there is a spot that says, go back 30 spaces or something like that. But I only put that on there because I wanted the game to go longer than just 5 minutes. So if they get to the end, go back 30 spaces. A fun way to practice a slope formula and test you mentally. Really, I mean, I want students to get better at mental math. So if this game is testing them mentally, that's what I want. That's one of the things that I'm shooting for all the time. Wow, they're having fun. Again, another person having fun with math. I just can't imagine it. And again, this is the same exact game, but instead of using the game board, they actually answer a problem on the card, and then they mark a spot on the board, and 5 in a row, the student wins. And this is actually a pretty easy game to make, a blocking game. So if the slope is 0, they would put 0. Positive. You do have to be sure to randomize these fairly well. I made a mistake the first time, and there were zeros all the way across, and I didn't know that until after they were printed out. You can actually see that if you look at the colors of the chips down there, that they were really trying hard to block each other. Like this group had 4 in a row several times, and then a group put 1 in the middle. So they really enjoyed this. They thought it was a fun twist when I just went in there one day and said, we're doing this. And actually one student, an older student, told me, this is the most fun I've ever had in any class ever. I wish we could do this more evenings. So if you're thinking this might not work with your older students, it works. Like those are some of the students that tell me they enjoy this the most because they haven't been able to learn it any other way. So who are we to say that what we're doing is right? They're back in our classes after 40 years of not having math. Obviously if it worked, it was stuck with them the first time, and it didn't. So they need this fun twist. They need it to be able to have the opportunity to work in groups and get help from other students and practice and work with a partner. And really, math is turned into a game. That's pretty exciting for me. But again, there are other games that I have that I haven't had students write a review form for. But the review form, if all of you have it, I'd like you to hold it up just to make sure that you have it, because I know how some people are. They'll say that they have one and then, they really don't. Okay, so if you need one, let me know.